Hello and welcome back to Powered Up Festival, organised and hosted by Ideas Powered. Now, today we're going to try and answer the question, what can you do if someone steals your creative work online? Now, considering that an estimated 2.5 billion images are taken every single day without the owner's consent, it's clearly a pretty big issue. So, to help us navigate this tricky topic, we are joined by intellectual property specialist Benjamin Winsner, who I am delighted to say joins us live from the European Union Intellectual Property Office in Alicante. Ben, welcome to Powered Up Festival. How are you doing?
Hi, Steve. Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing great, actually. We're in Spain. It's warm weather, and yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, don't rub it in too much for the people that are watching in your native Scandinavia. So I should point out Ben is Swedish, so don't listen to too much of the Spanish sunshine that he's selling because he's also not too used to it. But listen, Ben, I'm going to go straight into it. So, those of us who are not intellectual property specialists like yourself, we first probably need to understand how our creative work is protected online. So, tell us a little bit about copyright. What is it, and what exactly does it protect?
Yeah, so I mean, basically, everything that you create yourself, such as, I don't know, a piece of painting, you take a photograph, you do some doodles, or a dissertation, for example. Everything that you create yourself and kind of have some type of creativeness to it is basically protected by copyright. I mean, it could be everything from scribbles that you take when you talk to someone on the phone to a very kind of elaborated painting that you paint yourself, and it's your right. So it's automatic. So as soon as you created it, that right kind of surface.
Okay, so I don't actually need to physically register anything. It's not going to cost me any money. It just automatically happens. Is that how it works?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So as soon as you created something by yourself, so you've taken this photo or you painted that painting, you have an IP right to it. I mean, obviously, it's also, I mean, if you do it at home, it's hard to show that to people that you have created this. So, I mean, if we're talking about use of your creative works online or wherever it might be, you obviously have to prove that you were the first one to do it. So even though you can't register it, my tip would be to maybe mail it to yourself as a recommended post or something. So you get like a post stamp saying, yeah, this was actually sent this and this date, or maybe publish it online on your Instagram account or whatever you have, just so you can prove that this is the date where I actually created it and it became an IP right, so to speak.
Okay, so let's go through a common scenario that a lot of our followers will have experienced themselves. So let's say that I'm an illustrator or a photographer and I take my work and I publish it on Instagram. Then I find out a couple of days later that somebody else has taken my work, sorry, and they're using it as their own. So what's the first step I can take to try to stop that from happening and to have the work taken down?
Yeah, I mean, okay, and I know we're talking about copyright here. Just like an initial note is that these tips that we're going to go through, I mean, obviously, it doesn't just apply to copyright. So, say for example, you have a trademark that someone is using or a design. Most of these examples that I'm going to go through applies to those type of rights as well. So it's not just specific for copyright, but I guess for your community here, this might be the most important question they've had. So my first tip would be to actually approach that person or company that has uploaded your picture or your piece of work. That is the absolute first thing you should do, and in most cases, that will actually help because I mean. Fair enough, there are people out there that actually do this as a business and take advantage of other people's work. but some just upload stuff that they don't know about, or they just made a mistake. So that would be my first and foremost tip. Contact the person or the company that has uploaded this piece of art or piece of whatever it can be to their platform.
Okay, nice one. So first step, I've sent a DM to whoever it is who's using my work on Instagram, for example. Ideal situation, they take it down. What happens if they just ignore my message? What do I do next?
Well, the next step is you can file notices. So most of these platforms, say Facebook, Instagram, they have their IP protection programs, which means that they have a certain system for you to kind of notify them about people using your piece of art. So first of all, that is something that you can find on their terms and condition. So you log in, you have a look at the terms and condition, and normally there's a link to this IP protection program or notification system, and you file a notice. Normally, you obviously, and coming back to my initial remark there, they obviously want proof of your right. So if it comes to a trademark, maybe you need to upload a certificate. Same goes for a design. When it comes to copyright, obviously, because this is a right that you don't really register, you need to prove that you were the first one. So ideally, you would have a picture of this mail that you sent to yourself, or a post where you were first, to just prove that I was the first one to upload this. It's actually, we have a web page on the EUIPO website listing a lot of these marketplaces, especially marketplaces and their notification systems.
Okay, great. But let's say then, if the example was that it's not being used on another platform, so it's not on Instagram, it's not on Facebook that someone's using my work, it's actually on a privately hosted website who they're potentially using it for their own financial gain. What do I do if I can't file one of these requests via the social media sites or platforms?
Yeah, no. So I mean, if the first step to contact the owner of that website, or whoever is managing that website, if they don't take it down, what you can do is that some of these registered domain names, they have a system in place whereby you can request them to contact the registrant to verify their details, which means that basically you say, look, I want you to ask the registrant to prove that he is who he says, because normally the who is information doesn't contain that much information. What happens then is, if the registry then don't get this verification from the owner, they suspend the domain name, which means that the site goes down. And they do this for all domains under that handle. So obviously, when it comes to these type of websites, normally they're not too keen on giving out their real details. So most likely the registry will then take that domain name down and any other name that is associated to that handle, so to speak.
Great, nice one. Okay, I'm going to say now the worst case scenario, because in an ideal world, we've contacted the platform, they've taken it down, or we've reached out to the registrar of the domain name and that domain's come down. What happens if there has been no action? So our work's still online, it's still there without our consent, and potentially the person is making money from my creative work. Can I be compensated for that? And what is the next step? Is there a next step to try and get it down definitely?
Yeah, well, I mean, the next step would probably be to contact some type of IP professional to help you. Up until now, the stuff that we've been talking about, that you can do as for yourself. Obviously, you can hire someone as well, but these programs are fairly straightforward. Sometimes it's very easy to find who's behind the site, so you can just email them directly. the next step would be to take them to court. And for that, I would recommend to contact a professional to see if it's even possible. Because depending on the situation, maybe they think or they have experience saying that, yeah, but these type of things, you're not that successful when it comes to going to court. And obviously it's costly as well. So hiring a professional will cost you quite a lot of money, especially if you go to court. So I would think about it because it depends also where it's being used and how it's being used. But yeah, that unfortunately, in an ideal world, as you say, this wouldn't even happen to start with. But even in a less ideal world, people would actually respect the IP and do what the IP owner says. But yeah, as a final step, that would be to go to court and hire an IP professional to get proper advice.
Right. Well, as you say, I mean, fingers crossed, it shouldn't come to that. And most people online, it's either a mistake or they haven't realised that the work belongs to somebody else, or it's just they don't really understand how the copyright and intellectual property works, which is why these sessions are so important. So I just want to quickly recap, Ben, because this is an issue that happens to a lot of our followers, especially photographers, artists, illustrators. So number one, you're saying ask the person directly to remove it. Just reach out, olive branch, please take it down.
Yeah, that's normally, that's normally the best course of action, yeah.
Perfect. Second step, if that doesn't work, file a request on the platform that it's being hosted on, so via Instagram or Facebook's or YouTube's terms and conditions, or contact a domain name. And then finally, if that hasn't worked, it might be time to try and get in some legal intellectual property expertise. Is that what the general 3 steps are then?
Yeah, so 4 steps. So we have contact the person, either file a notification with the platform, or turn to the registry. If we're talking about a website that isn't obviously Facebook or YouTube, but it's just a normal website registered by a person or a company. If they don't answer you firstly when you contact them, you can always contact the registry and ask for the registrant details or the owner details to be verified. And if they can't verify that, normally what the registry do, they take it down. Not all registries does this, but some of them. And then the 4th would be to actually hire a professional and see if it's possible to go to court and maybe to get some compensation.
Great stuff. Well, Ben, I'm going to let you get back to doing the great work you guys are doing at the European Union Intellectual Property Office. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Likewise.
Great. I just want to finish off as well for everyone at home. If you have experienced something like this yourself, if someone has used your work without your consent, or if you've got any questions, post them in the comments below, and Ben will come on and have a look after we finish the session and see if we can get back to you with any insights. But until then, we'll see you next time on Powered Up Festival. Thank you very much.
Thank you.